Have you ever opened your monthly animal feed bill and felt your stomach tighten before you even finished reading the total? If you raise rabbits, you already know how this routine works. You drive to the feed store, load heavy bags of commercial pellets into your vehicle, haul them back to the barn, and then watch your hard-earned money disappear one scoop at a time. Now let's look at the numbers. Most feed companies would rather you never slow down and calculate. One adult rabbit eats roughly 6 ounces of pellets per day. That sounds small at first, but if you keep a modest homestead herd of 20 rabbits, that adds up to about 7.5 pounds of feed every single day. At today's prices, that can reach $1,642 per year in feed alone. Then add basic veterinary costs, bedding, and equipment, and before you have harvested a single pound of meat or sold one rabbit, you may already be facing a painful annual bill of around $3,000. But what if much of what you have been taught about feeding animals is not the full truth, but a carefully packaged idea built around convenience? While many modern rabbit keepers are draining their savings on bagged feed, a quiet farming community in Lancaster County has been raising dozens of rabbits for almost nothing. They have been doing it for more than 2 centuries, using practical methods that might make your local agricultural extension office uncomfortable. Some of these methods even go against the recommendations printed on the back of commercial feed bags, and that is exactly why they are so powerful. Years ago, when I spoke with an elder from a traditional farming family, he said something I have never forgotten. The rabbit doesn't need what the store sells. The rabbit needs what the land grows. That one sentence changed the way I looked at livestock feeding. Welcome back to Farmyard Care. Today we are going deep into a practical guide to self-sufficiency. I am going to walk you through 8 specific, closely guarded, and in some cases literally illegal, Amish rabbit secrets that can slash your feed bill close to zero. Stay with me through all 8 because secret number 7 is so surprising that it may actually be outlawed in your state. Are you ready to challenge the rules and take back your food independence? Let's get started. Trick number 1. Precision pasture rotation. Trick number 1 is not simply putting your rabbits out on the lawn and hoping they find something useful to eat. This is a precise, disciplined system known as pasture rotation. Many modern homesteaders move their animals around once in a while, but the Amish use this method with a level of consistency that completely changes the results. Here is the key. When rabbits are placed on fresh, diverse pasture, they naturally reduce their commercial pellet intake by 40 to 60%. A 2019 study from the University of Guelph tracked free-range rabbit feeding behavior and confirmed this exact pattern. But long before modern research measured it, Amish farmers had already learned it by watching their animals closely, season after season. Their system uses a strict 6-section rotation. Each section is about 8 by 12 feet, and the rabbits stay in one section for exactly 7 days before being moved to the next. That 7-day period is the important window. It gives the rabbits enough time to graze the area well, but it is short enough to protect the plants and allow that pasture nearly 6 weeks to recover before the rabbits return. And this is not just ordinary grass. They plant a purposeful blend of forage: red and white clover for protein, plantain to help naturally reduce internal parasites, chicory for digestive support, and dandelion for calcium, vitamin A, and vitamin C. The starting seed cost can be under $40, yet for a 20-rabbit herd, this one system can save between $800 and $1,200 every year. So the real question is simple. Why keep buying artificial vitamins when your own soil can grow them for free? Trick number 2, the power of fermented feed and sprouted grains. If the first trick is about choosing better food for your rabbits, the second trick is about helping their bodies use that food more efficiently. This is where fermented feed and sprouted grains become powerful. Long before modern nutrition studies began talking about gut health and feed conversion, the Amish were already using these methods in a simple, practical way. When you soak grains such as oats, wheat, or barley in water for 48 to 72 hours, a natural lacto-fermentation process begins. That process does 3 important things for your rabbits. First, it helps break down phytic acid, an anti-nutrient that can block the absorption of minerals like zinc and calcium. Second, the beneficial bacteria begin breaking complex proteins into simpler amino acids, so the rabbit can pull more nutrition from every ounce of feed. Third, it supports the gut with lactobacillus bacteria, a natural probiotic that helps compete against the harmful bacteria linked to enteritis, one of the most dangerous digestive problems in rabbits. The result is simple but powerful. Rabbits eating fermented feed can consume 15 to 20% less by volume while maintaining the same body weight. But the system does not stop with fermentation. During winter, when fresh pasture is limited, the Amish use sprouted grains to fill that gap. By soaking whole barley and allowing it to germinate for 7 days, a dry seed becomes a thick, living mat of green fodder. This process wakes up dormant enzymes and can raise crude protein from around 10% to as high as 20%. In practical terms, you are turning 1 pound of inexpensive seed into about 6 pounds of highly digestible, living feed. No electricity, no costly machines, no complicated setup. Just water, time, and a little daily discipline. Trick number 3. Comfrey, the indestructible protein plant. Trick number 3 is built around a plant that many people would walk past without a second thought, yet you will find it growing on almost every traditional Amish property. They simply call it the protein plant. This plant is Russian Comfrey, specifically the Bocking 14 hybrid. And once you understand its value, it becomes clear why experienced farmers respect it so much. Most commercial rabbit pellets advertise 16% to 18% protein. Fresh or dried comfrey leaves can provide an impressive 18% to 24% crude protein, which puts this humble plant in the same league as many store-bought feeds. But there is an important warning here, and this is where old farming knowledge matters. Rabbits should not be allowed to graze comfrey freely, because the plant contains pyrrolizidine alkaloids, which may affect liver function if the animal eats too much. The Amish do not treat comfrey like open pasture. They use it as a strict cut-and-carry crop, offering controlled amounts and keeping it to no more than 30% of the rabbit's daily diet. Once established, a single comfrey plant can be harvested 4 to 6 times during the growing season, producing up to 5 pounds of fresh leaves per plant. You plant it once, and it comes back with incredible force year after year. For decades, it can provide hundreds of pounds of free protein, replacing those expensive $60 bags of commercial protein supplements. Trick number 4. Zero waste and the garden stream. Trick number 4 may make you look at your kitchen and garden a little differently, and maybe even feel a small sting of guilt. But that is all right, because every good farmer is always learning. The Amish live by a principle so deeply rooted in their daily life that they do not even need a special name for it. Nothing should move toward waste. Everything should move toward an animal, a compost pile, or back into the soil. During the growing season, an ordinary family garden can produce 8 to 15 pounds of edible plant material every day. I'm talking about carrot tops rich in calcium, beet greens loaded with iron, tough kale stems, and the outer leaves of cabbage that many people throw away without thinking. In an Amish-style system, those scraps do not go into the trash. They go into a dedicated basket. That basket goes to the rabbits first. Whatever the rabbits do not finish goes to the chickens. Whatever the chickens leave behind goes into the compost pile, where it becomes fertility for the next round of crops. A 2021 analysis showed that using this kind of waste stream can reduce purchased feed costs by 31%. So ask yourself honestly, how much perfectly good, highly nutritious animal feed are you throwing into your garbage bin every single week? Trick number 5. Sunflowers. The secret energy source. If you thought using garden scraps was smart, trick number 5 may surprise you even more because it is almost too simple. The secret is sunflowers. Rabbits need dietary fat for several important reasons: healthy coats, strong reproductive performance, and enough stored energy to handle colder weather. Commercial feeds often include costly sunflower meal for this purpose, but the Amish do not buy the processed meal. They grow the entire plant in thick rows right beside the rabbit hutches. Sunflowers are far more than just beautiful garden plants. They are a serious source of nutrition, containing 20 to 25% protein and up to 52% fat, mostly in the form of linoleic acid. The Amish use the plant in stages. Fresh leaves are fed in June and July, petals are offered in August, and the heavy seed heads are dried and saved for winter feeding. Even the dried stalks are not wasted. They are given to rabbits as natural chew material to help wear down their teeth. A 50-foot row of sunflowers may cost only about $2 in seed. Yet that one row can produce enough seed heads to provide 40 days of high-quality fat and protein supplementation for 20 rabbits. $2 replacing $80. That is what happens when you stop fighting nature and start letting it work for you. Trick number 6. Coppiced willow and the homestead pharmacy. Did you know the average rabbit keeper in the United States can spend up to $300 a year on veterinary bills and medications for digestive problems, gut trouble, and respiratory infections? The Amish spend almost nothing, and the reason is simple. They do not build their system around treating sick rabbits. They build an environment where rabbits are far less likely to become sick in the first place. Trick number 6 is the use of coppiced willow. In many traditional setups, rabbit hutches are placed along fence lines planted with willow trees. Each spring, those trees are cut hard back toward the ground using an old Roman-era method called coppicing. This forces the willow to send up a flush of fast-growing, tender, nutritious shoots. Willow bark is a remarkable natural resource. It contains salicin, the compound from which aspirin was originally developed. When rabbits are given fresh willow shoots, they receive mild anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving support, which may help reduce stress, cortisol levels, and general discomfort. Willow also contains tannins, which can act as natural antimicrobial and anti-parasitic compounds. With 10 willow cuttings costing under $20, you can create a self-renewing browse system that produces hundreds of pounds of natural food and farm-grown medicine every summer. Trick number 7. Tagasaste, the illegal vertical haystack. Trick number 7. And this is the one that serious homesteaders and survival-minded farmers often speak about quietly. It is also the one that may actually be illegal depending on where you live. The plant is Chamasitis palmensis, more commonly known as Tagasaste or tree lucerne. So why is it so controversial? In places like California and Hawaii, Tagasaste is classified as a high-risk invasive species or a noxious weed. That means planting it, moving it, or spreading it may be tightly regulated or even completely illegal. The concern is understandable. Tagasaste is a nitrogen-fixing legume with a deep taproot that can reach 30 feet into the soil. It is aggressive, drought-resistant, and capable of competing with native plants, even surviving long dry periods without irrigation. But from a farming standpoint, it is an extraordinary plant. Tagasaste is often described as a vertical green haystack because it can grow up to 20 feet tall while producing large amounts of edible foliage. Its leaves have a nutritional profile very close to high-quality alfalfa, with crude protein levels reaching up to 30%. Even better, it is considered a non-bloating legume, meaning animals can eat it without the same dangerous gas buildup that can happen with regular clover or alfalfa. In areas where it is legal, and among farmers who manage it carefully off-grid, Tagasaste is controlled by constant lopping or coppicing before it ever goes to seed. A single hectare of well-managed Tagasaste can produce an astonishing 13.7 tons of edible dry matter per year. It stays green through the coldest part of winter and provides valuable fodder when ordinary pasture grasses are dormant. That is why many people see it as the ultimate survival feed. Trick number 8. The chain and multi-species integration. Finally, we come to the highest level of true homestead management. Trick number 8 is not one specific plant, one feed source, or one clever shortcut. It is the way all of these pieces are connected into one working system. The Amish simply call it the chain. If you use only one of these tricks by itself, you will still save money. But the real financial breakthrough happens when you stack them together and let each part support the next. Here is how the chain works in practice. The rabbits live in tractors or raised hutches. Their nitrogen-rich, cold manure drops directly to the ground, where it feeds the comfrey, the sunflowers, and the Tagasaste trees. Garden waste goes first to the rabbits and chickens. The chickens then scratch through the leftover rabbit droppings, eating fly larvae and helping keep pests under control. In some traditional systems, guinea pigs are even kept alongside the rabbits. They eat many of the same foods, but their grazing habits are different. That means they can clean up the finer forage that rabbits drop or ignore, turning what would have been waste into more usable protein. In this kind of system, nothing truly leaves the farm cycle. Sunlight grows the forage feeds the animals. The animals return manure to the soil. The soil grows the next round of feed. That is where the compounding effect becomes powerful. When pasture rotation cuts feed use by 50%, fermented grains improve digestion by 20%, Comfrey and Tagasaste replace purchased protein, and sunflowers replace expensive fat supplements, your need for commercial feed can drop below 10%. That is how a $3,000 feed bill disappears. You are not just choosing separate tricks. You are building a living chain, and every link strengthens the whole farm. Conclusion: food independence is not just a weekend hobby. It is a serious decision that can change the way you manage your animals, your land, and your entire homestead. The commercial feed industry has built a powerful system by teaching people to forget older farming wisdom and depend on the convenience of a pelleted bag. The problem is, once we stop thinking beyond the bag, we also stop asking what our animals truly need. But you do not have to keep paying that price. Now, you have the blueprint. From precise pasture rotation to the power of fermented grains, from the toughness of the comfrey plant to the controversial value of the Tagasaste tree, you now understand how a homestead can begin feeding itself. Real self-sufficiency is not about cutting yourself off from the world. It is about building a deeper relationship with your land and recognizing that nature, when managed with knowledge and care, can provide far more than most people imagine. If this changed the way you think about feeding your animals, take a moment to hit the like button, subscribe to Farmyard Care, and share this with someone who is tired of watching their money disappear at the feed store. Then drop a comment below and tell me which of these 8 tricks you would try first on your own property. Have you ever heard of the Tagasaste tree before? I read every comment, and I would truly love to hear about your homesteading journey. Until next time, remember, work with nature, not against it. Keep growing, keep learning, and take care of your farmyard.